Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the Science Media Cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
I suppose it's a good evening from Digitalk TV. We hope that everything has moved on as expected. My name is Tumuhimbise. Around this time, 7 p.m. on every Monday, we are talking politics, governance, human rights, economics, depending on what is making news that very week. We stream live on our social media pages. That's the Alternative Uganda Facebook page and also Digitalk TV Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel, The Alternative Uganda. Our permanent panelists, as always, are retired Major Awich Pollar. He's with us. When you talk about, when you mention him, he's like entire OB, and of course they have no OGs in Italy, so entire OB things. We have OGs in Wiranyans. So he says there would be OGs in another school, surprisingly, but he'll mention why. Extreme left, he's not a leftist.
No, I'm a leftist actually.
Oh, on extreme left, we have a leftist.
Not extreme left.
Okay.
On the left.
Oh.
Extreme leftists are the people who claimed they were
taking my
NRM.
mandate, and if I may remind you of the words of Vianney Ngoma, taking my mandate. Anyhow, we have Mr. Joseph Ochieno, but to perhaps have a glimpse of what transpired last week up to today. Off record, Honorable Awich was telling me today is the birthday of...
Off record?
No, like literally. Which is okay. It's on record. Before we came to the show, that's what I mean. It's a birthday of the big man. He's there. You will see him. He will tell you he's there. And he even ensured that they put this. It's it's in. I think that's the badge for entire school, right?
That is the official birthday.
Yeah.
Official birthday. Like the Queen of England used to have official birthday because she had an official birthday and another birthday. 81
years, right, Honorable Awich? We wish, of course, to congratulate the old man with the hat, but this time around his photo doesn't have a hat, for having made 81 years. It's not as easy. We have had people, it's hard to make 81, especially in Africa and other continents. But of course, I want to invite you to say just hello, and then also Mr. Ochieno to say hello. I will now come back and give you what we need to discuss today.
If I were to say hello on the birthday, will you give me
No, you have to say, you can mention, you can send the greetings. I don't know where the cake is, but I saw some people cut the cake on, was it yesterday, but one in Korolo. But maybe there could be another official one. You can say hello.
Okay, I will to our viewers, greetings and greetings to you.
The leftist.
Colleague,
Yeah, I'm a leftist, yes.
Joseph and yourself and the entire team here. About the birthday, it's a point to me and to others, I guess, because tracing the childhood of President Museveni is interesting, especially for those of us who went to Ntare. I can assure you, the writings in the school magazine in Senior 5, if you read the article which Museveni wrote, at that time without a search engine like Google, you think it's much better than many graduates from Makerere now. So that shows you how sharp and good he has been, and that is how he has ended up here. Because I was an editor of the school magazine, so I took interest in his writings when he was young. Senior 5 military school, because I edited the same magazine. We keep keeping copies every year. So before I took on the task of writing that magazine in our year, I did literature review, and I saw what Museveni wrote. Oh my God, that guy was right from the beginning. So it is good that he celebrates his birthday, and I thank God for his health, and I thank him for also keeping healthy. He does a lot of exercises. He eats well. He doesn't eat the kind of food we rush for in the Javas, in these other eating places. He takes millet porridge and cassava, and that's why he is.
In a second, and of course this does not mean that we have entered into a discussion. You see, you mentioned two key things, and I highlight, you mentioned that by the time the gentleman was in high school at Ntare, in your view, when you look at his article, he reasoned more than most of the graduates today. But then the education that you perhaps want to mention equate to his back day article, it's the type of education you have brought on board, you and your colleague. So isn't it a contradiction? Or rather, we should thank Mr. Ochieno for the UPC's education policy that brought up such a brilliant gentleman vis-a-vis the ones that you brought on board.
I'm talking it in context to his age, meaning I'm saying his character, his nature, not the nature of the education. If that was the
Comrade Awich.
If it was about education, then every student in his class should have been thinking like him, but they were not thinking the same.
But you're saying,
because they were exposed to the same education. If the baseline was education, how comes the whole class was not thinking like him? How comes his thinking was exceptional? So it is about his nature, and that's why I was talking it in terms of his age, and nature. But if it was education, then the whole class would have been thinking like him. But the whole class was not thinking like him.
I like your defense. Let's cross to Mr.
It's a terrible legal argument.
Yes,
you know, when these days you find P7 kids don't know how to write their names, and so you want to single out people. You know how I normally boast about the excellence of my primary education, the excellence of my secondary education. And normally I tied to all my other colleagues. In fact, I did an obituary piece for the oldest Tumuhimbise who died last month, at 105. And in that, I took the excellence of the quality of the guys that, having crossed Nagongora boys, we went to Tumuhimbise, and I met this cream of boys from across the republic, because every school, wherever it was across the country, you're going to get excellence thanks to UPC. No, Museveni got it very easy. Museveni got it very easy from our educational system. He's actually created a shambolic education system. In fact, the other day, I was talking to my 10-year-old beautiful daughter. Thankfully, my daughter does very well at 10. And beyond the private educations here, you go into public spaces, and Comrade Rich and I go into many of the spaces talking to young people. And some of the quality of education is terrible. But no, I'm delighted to be here on this day. Mr. Museveni, while he's celebrating 81 and 80, he should make sure that they stop, getting money stolen under his bed. But that money should go to make sure that we invest in healthcare, so that our people down there don't die from things worthy 2,000-3,000 Uganda shillings. So if that could be the mark of his birthday, that look, it's good to live long. He, as a gift to Ugandans, it is not a gift; it's still our money. He should say, from today on, I want to make sure that while I take porridge and bujera, let every other average Ugandan child also get porridge.
It's one of the issues, one of the statements I wanted to highlight, that does that mean that, him taking bushera,
he was boasting.
It's literally not because he can't afford what, but now the concern is, what about the rest? Do they even afford the basic at 81? But anyhow, that's it was just a lighter springboard for our discussion. The purpose for which we are here is to discuss on how best the Mr. Honorable Awich Pollar's government has guaranteed people's safety. And this is kind of to dive into the 30 years yet to come. I think that's by 8th October where our constitution will be 30 years. So we haven't run away from the debate of our constitution and how it has lived the test of time. And in the extreme left, we expect Honorable Michael Mabikke, by God's grace. Once we have him here, we'll have him say hello, and of course he joins the rest of the colleagues to debate this. And
we suspect he might be stuck in traffic.
Most likely.
And it's NRM traffic down the road.
It's been raining and there's a lot of So congratulations to Honorable Awich. I understand last week you did submit your signatures, and your Secretary General was chest thumping himself for having had over 2 million signatures. What a big success. And of course that will not enable us, him, run away from asking him on whether or not he has submitted his signatures. But beginning from there, are those signatures even genuine, or you simply, which is possible for some people, you go to them and, are they genuine signatures? Or you're throwing a stone to people to shy away, that you already have your 2 million voters already?
They are very genuine, as always, genuine. Like I was saying, the genuine intellectual disposition that Museveni has, which is shown at this early age.
Thanks to our education.
The congressman says education was good and therefore should have produced equal students. But it is on record here, he has said, for him to go to Mwiri, he was the best in his place. So if all the students were the best in your class, in those days they used to put in percentage. If you got to 35, why didn't the whole class get to 35? Because you would have been the same. No single student can be the same. Even if people are getting 4s, even out of the 4, there's somebody who got a 4 in maths, you would get 98, others got 96. But
actually got 98 in maths, actually.
So that means you are better than your fellow students in your own merit, not the education. Now, about the signature is a product of a holistic nature. Holistic nature in that this 5-year, what you call the Kisanja, this Kisanja, we have been so particular in executing our manifesto, and we kept evaluating it each and every other term, period. We had periodic review. There was a time we had achieved 60%, then we went to 70, then 80. We kept on. So this contributed to the success that we are having. 2, when we went for registration of party members, we came with a huge number and you people doubted. Until President Museveni went for an audit in his village. He said, if you people tell me this is how it is, this is my village, this is my voting place, I want to see who you have registered. And he did one by one. Later on he came up and said, if what I saw in my village is around the 73,000 villages, then you people could be right. Therefore, the achievement in the manifesto, including peace, you know that famous thing in Luganda that two webakawa? Yes, people sleep. So the 2 million signatures is a holistic and a progressive and a structured way of a product that has come. It's not a one-off. The achievement in the manifesto, the peace therein, and also our constant explanation. You might have realized that over this year, I was so much involved in the media. My core mandate is the external affairs. But I think because of the discipline of NRA, whenever I come to you, you hold me. You say, don't go. Therefore, the continuous explanation that we have been having, including my little input has had an impact on the signature that you saw. So that is the problem. We even had more, we passed the legal limit.
Of 100 signatures per district and
yeah.
3
We
quarters.
just needed 100 per signature. Some districts had 14,000. Others had, Bulisa had 8,000. So, 8,000 extra. So the members are there, the citizens are happy, and we're waiting for a day when they'll turn up. We really guess that with a simple study and opinion poll that we have done, we may have to win by 85%.
I wanted to ask you, I think that puts us back to a concern and or whether these were literally free signatures or you dished out some penny to some people and had their signatures put onto your forms.
Very, very free. All we did, because we have our structures, we just gave to the task to the structures, to the chair. Chair of a district, and chair said go to the sub-county, and the sub-county said give to chairman LC2, and then I mean NRM at parish level, then village. The structures did their work for free.
Okay.
For free.
I have this last question, and then I cross to Mr. Ochieno Joseph. It should be a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, when, you know, I think yesterday when we were at NAM in Kololo, and the theme, literally, it was to have the Boda Boda Festival. How does it make you feel having a country that celebrates, okay, not in the body faith, of course, but some time ago I used to have a rider that had a master's degree, and this gentleman would tell you, I looked for jobs, I couldn't get one, and he's having a master's degree. So are you proud of such an economy where you convene thousands and thousands of people in Kololo to have that exhibition of Boda Boda riders, whereas in China people are exhibiting surface and space missiles. For us, we are exhibiting Boda Bodas of 3 tires, 1 tire.
Moreover imported.
Now,
Yeah.
Moreover imported.
first of all, the example you gave about a master's degree, I wouldn't take it.
Oh,
The lawyer that I am, how do I know you're not creating a scenario?
I will get you that
Do
gentleman.
you know that in a law, if they accuse a man of a criminal matter and the wife goes to court and said, my lord, my husband has died, do you know what the court will say? Prove death. Prove death.
I will.
You said we are sorry, prove death.
I will get
Because there are people who have faked, including a congressman who faked death.
No,
and
in
the man
Congress we don't fake
the man
things.
resurfaced to be a member of parliament because he was running away from death.
Wait a second, Honorable Awich. Do you want, in your heart of hearts, you want to dispute the fact that there are people in this country that have bachelor's and even master's
Shocking.
degrees that are riding Boda Bodas? Honestly speaking.
I doubt that. What I'm doubting is that you met somebody.
No.
You
Up
can't.
now he
You
rides-
could be
up now he-
creating
no,
a scenario,
up now he rides
and
me.
that scenario can be misleading to the
No.
audience.
Up
Very,
down,
very
I will
misleading to the
invite
audience.
him here next Monday when you are here and you have an
Then I
off-record
will
discussion.
believe you. Then I
At
will
whose,
believe
at
you.
whose expense?
Then I
No,
will
it's going to
believe
be
you.
at my own expense, so
Then I
that
will
I can
believe
prove
you.
to him beyond reasonable
But
doubt.
anyway,
But proceed
let
about
me
the Boda Boda
proceed.
Expo.
The Boda Boda Expo is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. First of all, fast forward about your China example again. Congressman is old enough to know. Did you remember, Joseph, there was a time when the entire China was riding bicycle? You remember?
Predominantly, yes.
China was riding bicycle when the economy had not taken
Was
over.
down.
You can Google.
Partly that,
They
partly
were
culture. but
riding.
anyway.
No, how comes the culture has disappeared now?
Partly it was the culture of the time. I'm
No,
simply saying,
it's just
Allow him
because
allow him submit
the economy
kindly,
then was not managing. Okay, the economy wasn't managing. China, 80% of the people ride,
riding
not
bicycles.
even motorcycle, bicycle.
Bicycles.
The entire China.
The economy was down.
Until they worked hard to transform the economy, they have just started driving recently. Maybe not even more than. In fact, by the time NRM was coming to power in '86, Chinese were still riding bicycle. Not long ago. Therefore,
When should we expect Ugandans to get off the border
the
borders?
the economic status determines, but the economy itself, riding a bicycle does not mean that people can't afford cars.
Because
You can know that even now, especially when it has rained, the whole street is covered with cars. But border has its own merits and demerits, and that is why people take it. Taking on border doesn't mean the economy has collapsed. It doesn't mean the economy is dead. It doesn't mean people are poor. It's just an alternative. And even me, I often use border. For example, if I'm late for a studio, I park my car, jump on a border, because I have to be on time in a studio. The discipline NRM me, I have to come early. So if you see me on a border, I've parked a Land Cruiser. It's not because I can't afford. So border is an alternative mode of transport, which has picked up because of the nature of our actually many cars. It is the many cars that forces border to be there, because you have to move. I do it a lot. Therefore, even if it was that the economy was not, I can assure you China has just left bicycle. China has just left bicycle, and they progress. So if we are the challenge that is dictating our appetite for using a border, then we should work hard to ensure that we transform that situation the way China did. The way China did.
I think, Honorable, what the viewers, in my view, would perhaps be interested in hearing from you is, of course, not that we are condemning and or rather taking borders to be less important. The issue is about the energetic force of young people literally failing to get what to do and resort onto riding borders. Which borders? I will also mention that the border back in the day, it was around 2.5 or so million. As we speak, as of today, the border is around 4.8 to 5 point. That's a Bajaj from India. And then one wonders, if that is the path we have considered to take, what about we discuss the taxes that are imposed onto the border, so that, yeah, we know there are no jobs, but also the borders are relatively affordable. Not to say that they are less important, because I know each one of us has used them in emergencies, but none of us would be happy to find that majority of young people are purely preoccupied by border riding. I think that's the fair discussion would perhaps also have your mind about.
Now, if we are to talk about lack of
employment,
maybe white collar job, lack of white collar job, to be more exact. Why I'm saying that? Because sometimes we don't even know that when you are calculating employment, somebody in agriculture is also employed. Somebody in agriculture, somebody look after his cows in Yaushozi or wherever in Alira. So we don't do that, and yet that is another form of employment. So for proper diction, for proper choice of words, the lack of white collar jobs. Of course, not all of us can be in white collar job, but at the same time, if we needed border, it is the young people who should do it. Do we think that border should be left to the old? Are we cursing because it is young people? We need the old people to do it. Now, about job employment, that is a standalone topic. A lot of efforts are being made to create jobs. But it's not possible to get for everybody, never. The countries like America, the rate of unemployment is so high. Unemployment, you think America has covered how many? You think everybody is employed in USA?
Not everybody, but
it keeps coming up in every electoral challenge. Every electoral challenge you hear the Democrats saying we're going to create this job. Why? Because they want to address the needs and the cries of the unemployed. We cannot run away from the fact that we have not made enough employment. And that is why we are talking of industrialization for those who want office work or factory work. But for those who want agricultural work, interventions are there in terms of PDM to give you to produce a myoga to do that. But unfortunately, people seem not to see that as unemployment, and those whose outlook are that way end up in employment like border. And we said, fine, unless you're saying we remove all the young people, we want the old people, 70 and above, to ride the motorcycle, and then you'll again turn around and say our old people are riding. So who should ride?
Incidentally, they say that they are the most careful people on the road. But anyhow, let's cross to Mr. Joseph Ochieno. First of all, we saw, the last time we were here, you discouraged me to mention a faction, that UPC is one. Let us take it the way you advise that we manage it. But I saw some colleague from UPC, I think last week on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, who submitted signatures, who returned the forms, and then one wants to ask, it's on record that you picked forms for which you were expected to fill and submit. How far have you gone, sir?
Yeah, I'll respond to that, but I must take on this.
Yeah, I wanted.
I must take on this extraordinary, difficult denial by Comrade Awich about the extremes of unemployment in Uganda, and for Comrade Awich to honestly suggest that unless you provide evidence that there are no people with master's degrees in the streets of Kampala riding borders.
No, the one you met.
I know you took. The law is trying to fight the
what I'm trying to insinuate is we should desist from creating imaginary scenario which end up misleading the audience.
So I think
if you are saying you met, you must have met.
I didn't meet.
Okay,
he
so
rides
then
me
this
often.
is
I didn't just meet him. He rides
this
me
is the
often.
business of trust between the two of you. So no man, it's a very serious suggestion that Comrade Awich actually doesn't trust that what you're saying is true. And Comrade Awich is saying that yes, whereas there are many extremely unfortunate Ugandan citizens holding master's degrees walking the streets of Kampala, whom I meet many, including today, perhaps not on border. But that the one you met did not hold a master's degree, perhaps you did not actually meet a border person, so you created a scenario to argue with him. I was going to get shocked, Comrade Awich, there are many Ugandans with master's degrees walking the streets of Kampala. There are many Ugandans with master's degrees, including those around me, who don't have jobs. There are many Ugandans with master's degrees who are struggling to find a way to stay in Kampala. There are many Ugandans with master's degrees, including one I found at a petrol station the other day. I hope you don't suggest, as you suggest to Comrade Norman, who are sort of willing to take any job if sort of pays sort of their rent and sort of their transport, and they're willing to start from there. And it's extraordinarily unacceptable. So since you've calmed me down a bit, I'll move on. It's unacceptable. You know, unemployment, and it's amazing, unemployment by definition also includes cases in which you find people trained, skills, okay, it might be now underemployment, but doing inappropriate jobs. That is massively in Uganda. Now, the NRM guys want to fudge this definition, and Comrade Awich attempted to talk about the fact that an average lucky Acholi boy for whom the Balalo has spared 10 acres of land, who now begins and is possibly a graduate in education, and now begins to plant cassava. Because they planted cassava and another acre of peanuts, They're involved in agriculture, so they're not unemployed. No, I am the economist here. No, they're unemployed.
And he's a lawyer here.
They're unemployed.
He will ask you to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Because I'm a socialist, I'm a leftist. These are global definitions that actually, if Ugandans were to go to the thing, and you people in journalism were to go ask for the state to critique this, the messy figures that NRM throws 22%, 18% unemployment, it would be thrown absolutely top of the wind. And in fact, what I've just said, I hope there are some economics professors out there watching, and please give them this. The definition of unemployment in Uganda is completely fudged. I know Matia Kasaija, in an average London School of Economics class of possibly an undergrad third year class, he would struggle. I've just given some thought, he would struggle. That said, anyway, we leave that at that.
No, I didn't
This
want to-
morning,
I didn't
I
want to-
gave, if you don't mind, I gave a lift to a lady as I was rushing for a meeting somewhere from near where I lived. Turns out this lady has got a degree, a master's degree, and a procurement qualification. I think the certification. I think she called it something else. This lady is massively underemployed. Graduated 13 years ago, and this is for the record. She tells me that she had to move from her parents' home halfway the journey, partly because of the distance where she's walking. I'm trying to avoid the area, to mention the areas, and in part because she's now earning because she does not want to stay at home, and she's hoping that it's easier to get a job from one space to another. Those are the daily messes in the streets of Kampala. And for a political organization that claims to be leftist, a political organization that claims to be revolutionary, a political organization that claims to have been far left from UPC, should be talking at employment as a core issue. And the question of unemployment should be something they should run away from. I give a commitment that a future UPC government would have an aspiration of full employment. An aspiration of full employment. That is what leftist organizations talk about. Which was boasting earlier somewhere, meeting another leftist ambassador somewhere, will not mention, things like that. Those of us to the left, we are driven by values of uplifting those up. It's usually about employment, it's usually about education, it's about skills, it's about salaries, wages, how much we're able to boost their wages and their incomes, and also then investments on those who are most needy. As far as the signatures are concerned, I did not say last week that there are no factions in UPC. I have been saying for the last 5 years that there are in fact two factions in UPC. There is an Akena faction and a former Olara Walubiri faction. All I have said again and again and again, I do not belong to factions in UPC.
UPC is one.
And I'm too big for factions in UPC because I represent the mainstream of UPC. That's all I said. And I've been very consistent. And by the way, you raised it very important because Comrade Richard and I have learned our ways of managing, although sometimes he lets me down like he was letting me down a short while ago. We don't defend for defending's sake. One of the reasons I've been trying to do that is many young UPC members, particularly those who support my position, I tell them that don't go down there and begin to deny, turn to Norman that, oh, no faction, whatever. Don't tell lies. Put things in contexts. So, of course, we have those. And indeed, you're right that, 3 different individuals picked nomination forms for UPC, including myself. I declared that. Yes, my signatory process is generally ongoing. Well, the position I took is that I will not return the signatures unless I'm president of Uganda People's Congress, because I will not stand as an independent. I made that very clear. In fact, the week after I took the nomination forms, I expected a ruling in court, and this is part of these guys' challenges with their judiciary, in that I would be having a ruling in which my leadership would be determined. And the event that it was determined, I would have the nomination forms and go through straight away as a party candidate and get signatures. That did not happen. I want to announce that we now expect a ruling. I hope there's a ruling tomorrow, the 16th, and I hope it will be declared that it will be found that I am declared leader of the party, in which case then I'll formally submit the nomination forms to the Electoral Commission. But as I said, unless we resolve the leadership of the party, I'll not stand as an independent, because it's also about making jokes and making fun. And I'm telling young Ugandans, including the many people who went to pick nomination forms, fantastic things you did it. But please, let's not do these things because about power, me, myself, and I. Let's do it really for values and political organizations that we genuinely believe. But I must take one final thing with Comrade Awich. This business of millions of signatures. These guys are playing with the mindset of Ugandans, and you're not seeing it. He's smiling good. Comrade Awich, you're a gentleman. In normal democracies, and including serious electoral commissions, they shouldn't really be accepting that, because obviously you're wasting time with the electoral commission.
Envious that you could not gather some.
No.
So these colleagues bring
it's
over
PR.
2 million.
No, if we are building institutions, it's common sense. If you're building institutions, they say 100 signatures. Why should you take 1,000?
To prove that they're on ground.
What proof? You've been around for the last 40 years. You need to prove to us that you can turn Ntare, and create 10 Ntares around the world, around the country. That you can create jobs. And by the way, talk about education thing, Comrade Awich. Yeah. Under UPC administration, you finish a degree in procurement, you go to get a job in procurement. I'm actually tired of meeting young graduates, some of them serving tea, and they tell you that they studied IT and there's no job. I'm tired of meeting graduates who are teachers and they're then selling drugs, including some of these funny, controversial things at pharmacies, Comrade Awich, employment. So no.
But they will say, in fact, Honorable Awich and his colleagues will say that the population by then, vis-a-vis what we have now, and they will tell you that we were very few people, and therefore there were so many opportunities vis-a-vis now.
I told you I'm the economist here.
And he's a lawyer here.
Lawyers are usually not bad with mathematics, but the mathematics I saw during their primaries concern me. But look, the population has grown fourfold.
Yeah.
Economies grow as they boast, 6% per annum. Museveni boasted that the economy has grown more than 10 times, something along those lines. It's common sense. Really, at the rate at which they are telling us lies that the economy has grown, we should be having more schools, more hospitals, more jobs, and Comrade Awich is right, that we should really not be riding by pajajas of India, We should be swimming in the cars made from Namamvi. And Comrade Awich knows it's a terrible thing. And Comrade Awich, also you're right, that when I was growing up actually in primary school, we used to have Chinese magazines, but they used to be very, very fantastic. I need to be going to Beijing one of these days. We used to have very nice magazines that used to share in schools, because China was really, really at peak in their PR, trying to sell their communist agenda and program. And in Uganda, of course, we knew we were leftist Chinese, were friends with us with the UPC. We are still friends, although these guys have grabbed the central friendship with the Communist Party. So these guys had bicycles, and if I may say so, part of the culture is, if you go to Gulu in Uganda, I think your camera lady is fantastic. In Gulu, more women ride motorbikes and bicycles and cycle, and even partly in Lira.
Even in Busoga and Eastern, some parts of...
No, there's a bit I'm going. There's an economic element where there are more bicycles being ridden, say, in Nagongera than, say, in Buganda, partly because of economics. But here I'm talking about cultural. You'll find more actually women comfortable riding motorbikes and bicycles than possibly Banyoro or Japadolas. That's the cultural thing I was trying to refer to. There's also true that there's economics, but to the fact that China, a communist economy, that should really be driven by less envy, like the capitalist NRM guys would tell us, that capitalism encourages, speedy progress and motivating people to work. China did an excellent job. And if China did that when NRM guys came, you can see how long these guys have been around too long, and they've failed to turn our economy from a bicycle economy to basically a Pajaj exporting economy. But now we are still a Pajaj transportation economy. This morning, as I was going to conclude, I was going to Muyenga. And this is across the Kidgum house, I had a train, passenger train. The thing is going to say this railway thing, but it's terrible. We've had a short meal from these guys.
You're laughing at our train.
Yeah?
Are you making fun of our train?
No, it's almost criminal. A train that rolls around somewhere in Nambole, and you can see the junk and you can't believe it. These guys have taken us back 40 years.
Okay. If I may ask now, maybe in a minute or so, so what do you make of the Boda Boda Festival now in summer? Is it so good for a certain sector to come and have an exhibition of what they do, their importance in our economy and the rest?
Do you know at Nakao this morning, and it's official, a Boda Boda guy hit my car, plucked off my stuff, and proceeded, sped off with this poor lady as this passenger. I have had to leave Muyenga and then return to Wandega to my mechanic to sort it out. It's a shambolic thing. Now, interestingly, those police officers were there and they saw it, but the police don't have the capacity, nor do they necessarily have the interest. The lawlessness that exists, by the Commander, which this country, thank Mwiri, we gave you guys for God under my country, and we prayed over it. Citizens of this country are absolutely on their own. God with us. Those of us who drive around, you see the number of people who drive, and quite clearly they don't know the highway code. And you see how border borders drive as if it's those disco dances of those school days of ours. Tick, 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 tick. It's terrible. No, Kampala, the state in which it is no longer a capital, if it is to remain a capital city. That should be a border economy city for transportation. Kampala should be decongested. Border should be an alternative, not the priority transportation. Public transport, I told from Komodawich, is not the size of the roads. We need to invest, and I'm giving them my free education, free stuff as usual. We need to invest on public transport, that is trains. We need to invest in trams. We need to invest in public service buses. Some of the roads we need to give priority lanes. And then decongest by encouraging the posh Land Cruiser guys like Komodawich to move away from their Land Cruiser onto trains and onto buses. I told a major Kampala City conference 15 years ago, that was even before the Sebagala time, that this is a consideration we needed to make. But of course you realize that some of these guys don't have capacity to translate these things into action. It's a serious stuff. It helps in the environment. It also helps the Kampala economy. But it also helps, I was talking with a senior member of NRM the other day, by the way, which he agreed the day before yesterday, that actually part of the thing that we should also do, because this person has seen how Dar es Salaam and Lusaka are planning, Kampala would now be all the way to Nagalama, well planned and well expanded. But because there is insufficient planning, guess what? A neighbor of mine comes and builds a shoot thing of double story just behind me. None of us were consulted, none of us were contacted, and my friend was telling me of how somebody's washroom, earthen washroom overlooks their balcony in the city, in their posh corner for a land in which they now want to leave the place, sell off the place and move on. Okay. That is the mess in which we have in Kampala.
It's a heated debate, and as I speak, our other colleague has just come. He's about to join us. But before he joins us, I want to throw this to, there are two, we have 4 minutes, two, and then we go into a break. Would you feel, how would you feel if you had a relative, Honorable Awich, you have a relative, thankfully you aren't doing badly economically, but now I want you to, I know,
doing very well.
No. But Mtare people are not as brokers and Agongera people,
I know.
and the Mwiri people like you. So you sell land or cows, take this relative to school, gets a bachelor's degree, and later alone, you just have to now struggle and get them a passport and go to Dubai, okay, to to Arab countries. How would it make you feel? Would you consider that as, oh, at least they are employed, or you'd, for some reason, have a different opinion?
You see, such a kind of employment, to judge happiness, should actually be judged from what you call the victim, not the person. The person who is sending may not be the best. I know for a fact, especially among Ontari OBs, I know for a fact that there are people who have even done medicine and refused to practice.
Refused?
There are those who have done law and not practicing. If I can withdraw the word refuse, but I said they are not practicing. So to judge that situation is best from the rights holder, the person holding the rights. Because some people hold their rights and choose to do otherwise. But if you may think about this thing of going to Arab world, I've explained to a few people that you see, the idea of going around the world for a job is not a Ugandan thing. It's because there has developed a global imbalance of labor. If you went to Berlin now and sit in a bus from the airport, or a bus from one city, from Berlin city, and you're going to the suburb outside, like, let's say Mukono. Berlin at the city center, you're going to Mukono. You realize that the bus you are boarded, the youngest is 65 years. The entire bus, the youngest person is 65. Meaning that some part of the country have old people and they lack manpower. Some part, like in Arab world, they lack manpower. Therefore, the world came up with a convention called Convention on Migrant Workers, because the world realized it is a UN convention, like a convention on the rights of the child or any other convention, because the world saw that there is imbalance of labor. And therefore, those who are willing should do it. I can assure you, Philippines alone export 11 million nurses. Oh, Mexico export 12 million people to America, to the extent that even Mexico acted a film that one day without Mexican, because Americans were being proud. They said, let us withdraw. So the issue of labor imbalance and somebody going, you can't judge from another person rather than the rights holder. The rights holder may be comfortable with it.
I'll stop you there for a second, and we head into a break, because time, of course, isn't our best ally, and we welcome our other colleague, and we shall begin from there. But as we come back, it's for not a take home. It's for to think through as we come back. We have I think the record is show we have 116.2 trillion as a debt, and maybe we should begin from there as we.
To begin from there, or for me to make my submission on this.
Oh,
to respond to
this.
Yeah,
when we come back,
yeah,
you will.
Sure.
Definitely. Let's come back in a second. Keep it different.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Thank you, viewers, for keeping it Dig Talk. My name is Tumuhimbise, and I have two advocates in this studio and a senior economist. When he wants to bring his numbers, of course, my closest lawyer here brings in a defense and he asks all of us to prove beyond reasonable doubt. But we have another advocate from sometimes Democratic Front. I do not know how far he has gone with his front.
That's the real party now.
Sadly, the last time we had him, he was meant to come here and give us some bit of seedlings of the trees so that all of us can begin shaking the trees. But who knows, maybe some other time he will give us the trees. Honorable Mabikke, say hello to our viewers.
No man, sorry, I'm coming in late. But it is because of unforeseen circumstances. I got on the road. I've been on the road for 1.5 hours, more or less. But I'm happy that I'm here with you. I'm happy to find my friends. The former socialist, now turned capitalist,
Still.
and the brother Ochieno, who is true to the ideals of the UPC.
Amen.
I am yet to fit in. I don't know how far you're going with it, with the discussion. But greetings from the DF, greetings from the president of the Democratic Front, and all entire membership. We are doing quite very well. We have just been through a process of nomination of local government candidates. We are gearing up for nomination of parliamentary candidates, and also hoping that we should be able to present a presidential candidate. Because ours is not a belief in a boycott. Because whenever you boycott, you live for their wits, freedom and space to do as they wish and to propagate false narratives to the people of Uganda. So we shall continue engaging actively until that moment when we can be able to overwhelm these pseudo now
former socialists
now turned capitalists. You can even see now they are putting on ties like real capitalists.
At least even if it was red, at least
like real capitalists. You know,
it's no longer red ties, but like
they are even turning yellow. Actually, their ties they used to have red. Now they have turned completely yellow. Really, a big shift over there.
Do you think we should call them former or alleged former socialists, because we're not even sure whether they're socialists?
Those who used to posture as.
Okay. You see, Honorable Awich, rather Honorable Mabikke, before you came in, we're trying to have a glimpse of what has transpired the previous week. But of course, this does not make you run away from your responsibility, given your office at DF, to answer to us how different would your participation interfere with what you think they would do in the event that you boycotted? Given your numbers.
No, the option of boycott is out. We have determined that we should remain proactive, we should keep engaging, and we should keep pushing. Because in the end, regimes of this nature collapse at the weight of activism. They do collapse at the weight of activism, and of course sometimes also using some of the external forces. But of course, the national resistance movement, having been around 40 years, does not grow in popularity. It keeps declining. Most of the narratives and figures are false. They are cooked up.
The people you're talking about to decline last week presented 2 or so million signatures, and you haven't even provided one signature. In any case, none of us even knows whether or not you have a presidential candidate.
There have also been somebody has taken pictures of those boxes. I'm told they had pineapples, they had they had mango.
Did you have a Kwanzaa?
The way these fellows had actually choreographed it. Now they had mangoes and pineapples, and on top they could lay peppers. So actually, pictures have been coming out.
Of avocados and pineapples.
Avocados, mangoes and pineapples. Very, very strange. But true. Now, 40 years down the road, what are they trying to prove? What is it that you are trying to prove?
That it's a mass party.
No, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. And I think that the people at the Secretariat are doing more harm than good. For the president himself and for their chairman and for the party, because you cannot continue engaging in such childish display.
Scam PR.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you parade to the nation mangoes and pineapples and posture that now these are signatures?
Okay.
It's almost like a despot to remain relevant.
You see, for some reason, our viewers ought to hear your honest response to some of these concerns. I don't want to be a sadist, but the corridors have it that you, as DF, don't seem to have a presidential candidate. and you highlight corridors. In the event that indeed the corridors prove us right, what is your plan?
Participation can be at different levels. Participation can be at presidential level, because this is a general election. A general election has got three segments. One is presidential, the other is parliamentary, the other is
Local government.
And the people here seem to be so obsessed, by the way, with the presidential and parliamentary, even leaving local government. But when you go to the UK, where Ochieno has been, you'll find a party that is purely local. And there's got a full representation, even bigger than the Labour Party or any at the local level. And then other parties are parliamentary, and then also presidential. Now, yes, DF is weighing. That's correct. DF is weighing whether really it is meaningful to participate at the presidential level. You will recall that when our leader, Matthias Mpuga, was leader of opposition, he is the one who sounded the alarm to the entire opposition, and he actually convened a meeting in Munyonyo. He invited entire opposition and focused them towards the need to have electoral reforms. His own party then, Mr. Chagulanyi, you remember the Mr. V wrote, he said, this is not important, and this is not this is not appropriate for now. He went ahead to present 8 bills in that parliament. Now, some of these bills were actually were intended to have far-reaching impact. First, register. The nation has 2 registers. We are walking into a general election with 2 registers. One manual, the other electronic. When the manual fails, they resort to electronic. When the electronic fails, they resort to the manual. But you know that in all states, in all countries which really have verifiable election, they have 1 register. The electronic register cannot fail. And they say, you know, it is thumb. When you put a thumb and fails, then you resort to the manual. But it should be the thumb and the eyes. Now, when the thumb fails, you should look at the eyes. The eyes cannot fail. But what these Awichs have done of this world is that they have left this hanging. Now, we are walking into an election with 2 registers. 2, we have been at the forefront of saying that the manner of declaration of a presidential election is not good. Because when you go, for instance, states where we have a presidential system as we have, in the states, a presidential election is determined at the state level. Trump has taken South Carolina. Biden has, whoever, Kamala Harris has taken New York. You know, the presidential election result is declared at a manageable jurisdiction. Similarly, when you go now to Kenya, very near home, a presidential election is announced at the county. Odinga has won Narok. And Ruto has won Nairobi. You know? So it is very easy to compute this. But look at the way, the manner our friends announced this election. You know? Here we are, Nakhinyuguzi. Nakhinyuguzi won. Museveni 20. So and so 30. So it is very, very difficult to verify a presidential election given the manner in which it is announced. We had said that the smallest unit must at least be a constituency. Level. When Mabikke is announced as member of parliament, they should know so and so has won as member of parliament Makindye East. And either Bobby Wine, all Besigye, all Museveni, 2 has won. So we have said that the manner in which we announced this election is not verifiable. You cannot verify, and it's not very easy. So, and you know very well that these results, for instance, you can say Besigye has won Masaka municipality or Nachinuk. By the time you cross Ruera, things have changed. The result has changed. Now, we have also said that it is very extremely critical for us to get the military security agencies out. We must have an election that protects voters. We must have an election which protects candidates. Now, in the manner in which we are, without when you have the military, when you have the security agencies, when the police is relegated, you cannot have a free, fair, and verifiable election. So we are actually weighing these chances. Is it really useful? Should we focus our energy on this election? And if we sleepwalk into it, in an election where more or less even the result is already determined, predetermined, it will be a total waste of resources and time. But we can focus on a level which can be impactful and which can be able to deliver a desirable effects that we need, because right now we need the law. We need to change these laws.
You see, Honorable Mabikke, one of the toughest things a media person ever finds, like me, is to have to interview lawyers. They will, tell you lots of good English, and then at the end of it all, for some reason, our viewers become confused. You mentioned that Right Honorable Mabikke, rather, Right Honorable Mpuga, of course, I remember that conference in Munyenyo. To many, it was a very wonderful idea to convene people and say, look, we suggest that we have reforms. Unfortunately, not even one reform has been awarded, if I may apply that word. And you come here with your DF, in fact, to begin with you as a parliamentary candidate for Makindye East. You have warmed up, put on the gloves, very ready to battle. In the same process that you accuse of being fraudulent, so who is fooling the other? He who has denied you the reforms, or he who wants to participate in already a predetermined, as you call it, and fraudulent process? Because the same EC you accuse of manipulating the presidency is the same EC organizing local government for which you are willing to, to participate in, and so is the parliamentary. So who is fooling them?
Now, I have said that the general election has got three stages: presidential, parliamentary, and local government. These stages can be distinguished. They are distinguishable. You can really distinguish the manner in which a presidential election is arranged, whether it is even manageable in the circumstances. You can even distinguish this from parliamentary, and a parliamentary election is quite easier to manage. And you know that for sure the NRM that has not wanted, that has never wanted most of these fellows who pass. I can show you, I can relate to you the election of the recently held by-election of Kawempe North. You know the manner in which the NRM came out, deployed, but ultimately NUP was able to overcome. Why? It is easier to manage a parliamentary election in the circumstances than manage a presidential election. For the NRM, the presidential election is more or less a do or die. It is more or less a do or die. And they leave nothing to chance. The guns come out blazing, the security agencies come out in full gear, police is relegated, and everybody is all out for a kill. Actually, to them, the presidential election, they have this nanny of Northcote, the slogan of Northcote. We either win
or they lose.
Or they lose. That's how they come out. But in an election here, it's either you lose or you win. But for them, it is a win-win. So they don't compromise on that.
Before I cross to...
But in a way, I think what Comrade Mabikke is saying is that Ugandans ought to know that until Mr. Museveni turns another decade in age, the office of the president is preserved. Sort of the no-go area as long as Museveni is there.
So ring-fenced.
Just ring-fenced. Meaning that just like in their own internal thing, Museveni you don't touch, Chigongo you don't touch, you can do all the other things.
You can touch the rest.
Okay, this is the, for now, in a minute. Do you mean to suggest that if you are not sure of the independence now and the efficiency of the Electoral Commission, you may consider putting all the efforts onto local government and parliamentary and then plan for the presidency years later?
That option is still open, and we are also engaging the rest of the partners and the rest of the forces for change on whether we can be able to rally behind one single candidate. Yes, we have a presidential candidate, but if we have if we can convince the rest that ours is the best, then yes, we shall participate. But if we discuss with the rest and they say, well, we have a better candidate than a DF candidate, then we shall back.
Okay.
Because our principle now is to be able to present a formidable front that can be able to make some effect. Because short of that, you cannot even be able to make any impact at the next election, because then the result will be clear. You present 9 candidates as the last election was, it would be an effort in West.
Okay. Our viewers, we are with Honorable Awich Pollar, Honorable Mike Mabikke. He's coming back to represent Makindye East, and we have Mr. Joseph Ochieno, who, okay, by God's grace, once he gets a ruling that is in his favor, he is likely to be the UPC candidate. And he put it on record that in the event that there is no such a ruling, for instance, he will not dare.
Not dare.
He won't, as an independent, I mean.
No, the word dare is...
Okay. Are you likely to come as an independent?
No, I will not, but to say he will not dare stand.
Okay,
no.
he will not. What are your plans? Parliamentary? In the event?
No.
Yes, he will not stand.
He will not stand.
I will not stand, but if you add
What
dare,
about,
it gives
what
it-
about, okay, what about Parliament?
I think the focus on president of the party, and I really hope I'm confirmed onto that. But I think it's an important point coming from Comrade Mabikke about possibilities for their own political organization. And I think it's also an important conversation to be had by the democratic opposition of a possibility of fielding a single presidential candidate. That's an important debate to have, regardless of whichever way it goes.
The entire opposition?
Yeah, and I think it's an important conversation. But also, it's important that there's a conversation that takes place with or without a single presidential candidate. That the democratic opposition has lost out in my absence on the debate, that by now political opposition ought to have coalesced around important key issues much closer than they've done in the recent past. And in fact, I've hardly seen, partly because I have some telephone calls have not reached me for whatever reason. I do not think the political opposition is doing enough to coalesce around national issues. I think people are too focused on their narrow-mindedness, narrow individual interests. In any case, part of my view is that actually that beyond that, we should reach a stage in which political organizations, including the governing political organizations that sometimes are full of impunity and arrogance, that when it comes to critical national issues, we should be having a position in which citizens of this country see all of us political leaders, having a conversation and raising issues for which it's Uganda first.
And the bad news for both of you as opposition is that you have no time. That is what that's been
it's a critical one. It's a
That's
critical
been-
one,
that's
and we hope
the
therefore
bad news is
in a way,
you have
yes,
time.
it's a critical one
10 days nomination.
in terms of these elections. One,
Yeah, sure.
but I think with or without these elections, if we and we've been around, if we are interested in this country, particularly fantastic people like your camera individuals, regardless of the outcomes of these elections, we should be having, in principle, a way in which we learn lessons and look towards the past. But I must say this in my little space. Comrade Mabikke, before you came in, Comrade Awich was boasting that exporting low wage workers is now a global trend, so it's a cool thing. I just want to say this, that actually export of labor should be about skilling, one. Number two, actually determination of how good nation states are doing should be by how many citizens are unwilling to leave their nation states. And so for Uganda, for us to be rushing around because we want to go and clean Germany and want to go and clean in the Middle East, I think political leaders should not be chest thumping. In my exile, the first hostel I stayed in London, I met YMC hostel. I met a Malaysian guy who had come to do his master's degree, and we had a close conversation. We lost contact. This guy couldn't believe the experience I'd had under NRM in the previous 18 months. And he was telling me he couldn't wait to finish his final papers to return to Malaysia and to return to a job. I think that is the beauty of chest thumping. I have also been around, including, actually, we talk about Britain, including the Labour Party, for which I have contributed a little bit to some of these policy conversations. When it comes to migrant workers, when it comes to quality of jobs created, we've let NRA get away with too much. You know, to the extent that actually people can create companies that export people into slave labor, and we still think the government is doing well, when we're not asking the government, or this regime in this case, how many jobs they've created, but also how many skilled jobs they've created, and how many of our skilled labor abroad we've reattracted home. And for Ugandans, Awich, and you are an external mouthpiece for this regime of yours, you know, I'm sure, how many Ugandans abroad are prepared to return home for less than a quarter of what they're earning elsewhere, if they were to get those jobs here at home. One, get related jobs or quality jobs. Number two, get guarantee for security, the kind of conversation we're going to have. Three, make sure that there's guaranteed health care. Number four, make sure there's a possibility for their children to go to an average Buganda Road primary school and excel. Things as basic as that, and or perhaps to make sure that, well, to travel from Makindye to center of Kampala, you know, you don't have to be stuck by 2 hours like our brother here was this evening.
Honorable Awich just stamps themselves for, of course, so many vehicles, so much development. So the reason for which, I mean, a reason for which we have such traffic. So that's kudos to.
But that's also lack of forward planning, first of all.
Yeah.
Because if you know, states that are doing well really project that in 4 years we should have this kind of traffic.
Yeah,
So we should be able to have this kind of roads. Now, we have lost years of planning. Two, can I just say something on export labor?
Yeah, like in,
it is very sad and actually a contradiction that the NRM is talking about exporting unskilled labor. At the same time talking about industrialization. Now, countries like China, which are very serious about industrialization, did otherwise. What they did actually was to attract big companies to come and do the manufacturing in China, so that now they benefit from low cost of production, because the labor in China is cheap. Now you cannot just thump that you are exporting skilled labor that comes back with actually nothing. These guys are actually encouraging human slavery and human trafficking. I don't know why we have not been sanctioned for human trafficking.
Okay.
And there is no way any serious person can come. Any serious a person who has a global, who thinks globally, can come and say, you know, we are exporting unskilled labor. Actually, what we should be doing is to attract big industries, big factories, big manufacturers to come here and benefit from low wages, from low paid
affordable
skilled
labor.
labor.
Unfortunately, Honorable Awich has to respond to two opposition diehards, and leftists. You are a leftist?
Yeah, yes, I am.
And he's a typical leftist, like he said.
Actually, I'm a social democrat.
So Honorable Awich has to respond to both of you. And of course, as you respond to both of them, I want you also to summarily, in our remaining minutes for the three of you people, to discuss on the how has this government guaranteed, because all that we have discussed goes back to the freedoms of the citizens as enshrined in our constitution. That's why we needed this foundation to enable us now summarily answer our topical discussion over the how has the government guaranteed freedoms and safety of citizens as enshrined in the constitution. This is brought to the three of you in line to what is happening apparently, because it's on record that the lawyers to Sam Mogumia, for instance, petitioned the court, and we all know certain news. The government for which Honorable Awich serves, broadly in black and white, said they do not know his whereabouts. They don't have him, and this put us back onto a certain video back in the day where the president was, after you had come from the bush, the president said that it was just unheard of. How can citizens ask that? Where are these citizens? And the government cannot even answer the whereabouts of the people. Honorable Awich, how do you dare say you don't know where Mogomia is and so many others? How have you guaranteed our freedoms as citizens? But proceed with that question summarily, but also in response to what they have submitted, sir.
Then I should start with response. And you know, I'm responding because
the other is very difficult. These are easier.
No, I'm starting with response because I earlier on, think in this forum, mentioned that we're discussing somewhere, and because I was responding, somebody said they shouldn't debate what others had said.
I know where you're going, Comrade.
Yeah. So I said, look, first of all, the Uganda Communications Commissions and their guidelines want a balanced view on this kind of discussion. And the idea of having a balanced view is because when Honorable Mabikke said this, Awich should respond. Two, the guy I was talking to was even a lawyer. And I was saying, counsel, you know that paragraphs of an affidavit not rebutted is conceding. Three, I told him, you expect me to come here and you're talking of things including calling for a regime change. And you expect me, which when I come to talk, I talk about Arsenal and Man U, the fish in the lake, and the animals in the park, and I leave what you have said. Then what have I come to do? You're saying, leave me, let me talk about regime change. But please, Mr. Which, when you get the microphone, talk about Man U and Arsenal and the fish in the lake, and no way. That is why the Uganda Communications Commission insists that we have a joint discussion to balance the views. And therefore, I feel responding is important. First of all, also we should know that when we talk here, it's really not about politicking. I feel that the viewers should learn the roots and the grounding of concepts, and they benefit. You know, there are students who are watching. For example, I heard you people talk about culture. It was in respect to talking about border, that some people ride in some areas because it is a culture, and you stop at that. I just want to say, culture is not a superstructure in hanging. There is a materiality to all cultures. For example, I remember culture, first of all, by definition, is the norms accepted in a society and practiced over a period of time. I remember when I entered Makerere Law School in '95. There were culture in Makerere, and it was culture of poverty. Have you ever heard culture of poverty?
What?
Culture of poverty was in Makerere. It was a culture, meaning it was an acceptable norms. For example, you'd hear in faculty of law that so-and-so likes his red shirt. And indeed, when you see in any part of Makerere, the red shirt belongs to Professor so-and-so is walking. And you would think like, Professor so-and-so likes black tea. And indeed, he takes black tea with coke. You would even hear Professor so-and-so likes his rugabire, the shoes, made of a car tires. This was the culture. Was it hanging? No. The remunerations of professors in Makerere was so bad. Remember, private students were just starting. Government was not paying. When this money was, when the welfare of professors improved, that culture died.
The culture of poverty.
Culture died. Now you can't say there's a professor with one red shirt in Makerere. Let me give a simpler one. In the north, we harvest food. We don't have food like matoke, which is throughout in the garden. Now, around June, July, there's a culture of famine. And how does it manifest? You'd see somebody can sit a discussion like now. Opio, if they slaughter you that cock, can you finish? Then Opio said, I can. Say, Opio, you can't. With soup and ugali. Yes. Now, they keep discussing that to nurse the hunger. But when harvest comes, that culture will disappear. In other words, I'm saying a culture is based on a materiality. When you let viewers listen, don't say hanging. For example, the culture of motorbike or bicycle riding in the north, it's because the terrain there is flat. The terrain is flat. And because of the terrain, it is easier than a woman riding a bicycle in Kabale, which it is hilly. So I'm saying this, that when we discuss, we must have discussion with rooting, because students and others are basic, than discussing on a periphery. I just thought you should do that. Now,
we talked of election results. And
especially presidential. And
yeah, especially presidential. Honorable Mabikke was saying
has issues with
you declare here, you declare here. It depends on if you so wish. But what happens is, in some jurisdiction, and I think a congressman stands to correct me, that declaration is because you are not using majority vote. For example, if UPC chooses to say, if Comrade Joseph is standing with Akena, and in Ibanda, Joseph gets 200 votes, Akena gets 190. It is taken as what? The vote is taken by the other one. Now, that would mean even a highly populated area is counted as one vote. And yet here we are saying you can win in Ibanda, but somebody who has, say, Nupas won in Wakiso, count it as such, it will balance the other one. But in this case, Wakiso would be counted as what?
No, let's
one vote.
Come back to Kenya.
Now, so
come back to Kenya.
If they so wish that is the position, the law is not stagnant, it can be amended. But I just want the viewers to know that kind of voting, which you declare then, is a voting where a win is counted. It is not the majority votes counted.
How is Kenya different from Uganda?
I hope Honorable taking notes. I was taking notes when he was saying. Okay. This is the discipline NRM. This is a discipline NRM. And that's why I don't interfere. So, if there's another contrary view, but that is it. And the Ugandans in their constituency assembly delivered and said it would be unfair to count one vote in Ibanda district, the same one vote to a populated Wakiso. Okay? Let it be counted on its own and then it is added. Otherwise, Ochieno, who has won in Ibanda with one vote, would also be counted like Akena, for example, if he won with a bigger majority as long as he has won in the district. So, but it is open. If somebody so wishes, the law is amendable. Now, I'm hearing also sentiments and voices coming from my colleagues about participation in parliamentary and not participation in a presidential. For us as NRM, it's okay. If you so wish that you know that you can't manage just at presidential, please come down.
And made it very tough.
No. Calm down. Parliamentary is also democracy. You make life easier for us. You make life easier for us because, in fact, we shall look at you as being very honest. That you said, there I can't manage. I can't manage, there I come here. We would welcome it and would think that these are patriotic Ugandans. Patriotic Ugandans who have seen they can't now manage. They have come here. But those sentiments are coming about because the challenges that they're seeing. Either the mobilization, the little mobilization that, or the inadequate mobilization they have done, the logistical requirement that they may not, the survey that they have done, the electoral survey, the time, so many things are to their disadvantage. If they so wish, please, would welcome them to leave us the space and we continue. Now, what you want, NRM winning presidential and lose parliamentary, and they are saying because NRM takes presidential as a do or die. Not true at all. What happens is the genuine election that we do is what reflects we lose parliament. We would, by the way, would want to win 100% parliamentary, even for selfish reasons. Selfish reasons that right now money was introduced, which is given to parties who have representation in parliament. It is given to electoral commission. You think we wouldn't want to take all of it? If there's anything to do or die, it is for us in the parliamentary because we scoop the money. But we do our best, bosses, president. When we lose parliamentary, we lose because of democracy. And that is why some of us question the double standard that NRM can rig in presidential and cannot rig in parliamentary. Why don't we rig? Wouldn't we want to do anyway? Wouldn't we want to rig for our vice president, Bokenya? Wouldn't we want to rig for the minister of NGO, Nankabira? Wouldn't we want to rig for all these people? How do we lose? And if we are these big riggers, I have always wondered, how comes the entire, from Arua to Acholi, to Lango, to Karamoja, we don't have at a polling station representatives of opposition. But we count the votes as they are. You hear in Agago, Museveni has won with 70%. We let 30% go. If we are rigging, why don't? There's no single person at the polling station.
But Honorable Awich,
So,
in a second, please. Kindly. Haven't you heard of incidents where polling agents of political parties being grabbed from the polling stations and whisked away?
I have not heard.
Proceed.
But the thing is, in all these areas, I'm telling you, you are talking of one which is chased. Maybe you are, I don't know whether in Nyabushozi or where, but I'm saying where they are non-existent. I'm saying where there's non-existence from the entire West Nile, the entire Choli, the entire Lango, the entire Karamoja, nothing. But we still declare 70%. Who are these riggers who choose to leave 30%? 30% is too much. We would have pushed it to 90. So why it is not true that presidential election is a do or die? For us, it is both do or die. Parliamentary, because we would even want to get the money. Because we would get the money because we would have 95% us. But what you see is not a do or die. The correct position is that we put all our effort in both presidential and parliamentary. And because of democracy, because of not rigging, we lose. In fact, even where we have lost for parliamentary, even President Museveni lost there. So we shouldn't change the narrative and falsify that it is a do or die for presidential. No, we do or die for both. But democracy takes its course. And that therefore exonerates us from rigging.
So they blame their weakness on
finally, I think I made my comment about human labor before Honorable Mabikke came. Honorable, my view is, and which is a correct view, by the way, take it. It is a correct view, is that there is imbalance of labor globally. I have said, and I went to Germany, I sat in a bus. The youngest person in that bus was 65 years. So similarly, you see, now that you don't have young people in Western Europe, the same thing in the Middle East, they also lack some kind of a labor. That is why the United Nations came up with a convention on migrant workers. Council, you know very well that a law comes to address a mischief. The entire world wouldn't have come with this convention if there was no instability or imbalance in labor around the world. We could be talking about the quality of labor. Did you think the convention on migrant workers was made because of Uganda only? It is because the world had seen that, ladies and gentlemen, in the world there's imbalance of labor. People are going to move. So we would put this convention to give obligation on states. The receiving state, what rights should they, how do they guarantee the rights of migrants? They host the government home. How do they guarantee the rights of people who are migrating? This is a global trend, not a Ugandan thing. If anything, Uganda even export less than Kenya.
Let me give you this question.
Completely, check the record.
Honorable Awich, I don't want to sound like I'm giving you a leading question, and which requires a yes or no. But of course, I'll push it to you. Are you proud of the quality of labor that you export?
I'm not.
Thank you.
So it is a work in progress. We should now be saying, look, comrades, Philippines export 11 million nurses. Can we do better? Okay?
Than maids.
Can we do better? That one is a point we can agree on. So you don't expect me to say, I have answered you, haven't I?
You have, sir.
So
okay. No, okay. A breather, yeah? Okay. Now, how have you guaranteed people's freedoms and safety as enshrined in our constitution? And I was trying to give you...
That's a very difficult question for him.
No.
And I'm trying to give you a precedent of Mugumia.
Please, ask more difficult one than that. But let me first answer this.
Simple one.
Let me first answer this. First of all, in my growing up in NRA and NRM, we like objectivity. Two is that there's a general principle that questions gives you immunity. He who asks is not at fault. Your work is to ask.
Yeah, sure.
If you wanted to say, Major Wich, you're stupid, don't say, Major Wich, you're stupid. Just say, Major Wich, are you not stupid? In which case you have just asked.
Yeah.
So you have no problem asking. But of course, there are some questions like we have. I can tell you this. We have a common saying in Acholi where a new sub-county chief had come and he was calling for a meeting. Then the man stood up and said, should I ask a question? They said, yes. That is it true that if I ask, there's no problem? He said, go ahead and ask. Then the man said, this man with a huge head, with a funny teeth, this man who is looking hopeless, is he the sub-county chief? Then they tried to arrest him. Said, but you assured me I should ask. Me, I'm just asking. So feel free to ask and let Mabikke have no fear about the answering. So the question about the safety, we have guaranteed safety. I wouldn't even bother you about the past, especially when you're juxtaposing. Did you know, Norman, that I was told in the army that there were some notorious people who would steal prisoners? I repeat, stealing prisoners. You have somebody arrested, let's say in Bombo Barracks or even in Lubiri. Then you come in the morning to check prisoners. Ah, Mr. Soal came and stole it. Stole it and taken it away. Stole and went and killed. Can you imagine that you have state operative where you come in the morning to check a detention center and they said, sir,
someone took them.
They even, I don't want to mention names because the names are there, that Mr. X came last night and stole the prisoners. Here, we started off from the texture of the Constitution. Article 44 is literally a Bill of Rights. Non-touchable. Things you don't touch.
Non-derogable rights.
Things you don't touch. Freedom from slavery. Not even Museveni can say Okello is my slave. Freedom from torture. In the past, courts of law could convict Okello and call the Askari of the local government with what we call Ogwangweno to administer canes in court. Nothing.
Haven't you watched people being tortured in this regime?
I am coming to that. You have that prohibition. Habeas corpus. Bring the body here and hear him. So we very elaborate. Now, apart from this, we have even gone ahead I mean the government, because NRM. We have the majority in parliament. We can block in a bill. We have passed a Human Rights Enforcement Act. We could block it. And remember, law is assented to by the president. And he assented. Meaning that even now, if a police comes, like you're saying, to beat or break your leg, in the past you'd go to court. And the police would say, they would raise the defense of Attorney General. Please sue Attorney General. Me, I was doing my work. Right now, you break a leg, you are personally liable. We have all institutions, courts of law, the judicial, the rest. So, we have done so much in the protection and enforcement of human rights, including human rights courts, human rights commission. However, we still have sentiments and cries coming on violations, especially lately by the state apparatus. And it is what we have to work on. As a party, we have to keep mentioning it, and especially in the forthcoming election. But by far, institutionally, legally, in practice, we have done so much compared to the past where people come and steal prisoners. You come in the morning and say, so-and-so stole 4. As if he's stealing 4 to free, but he's stealing 4 to go and steal. Just because he feels he should kill.
Because we are out of time, I will ask you to to have your closing remarks, but also with this question. In the event that government denies having any information about the whereabouts of Mogomia, for instance, where would you run to had you been a relative or a close friend to Mogomia?
I would still report to police about the disappearance.
In the same government, that because by the time the Attorney General, if sadly we haven't had an opportunity to have it run there on our screens, but they said that they looked through and every detention, renowned detention centers, and they couldn't trace him.
I think the procedure taken was to follow and see if government has arrested. That was exhausted. Government is saying they don't have. It doesn't stop you from reporting a missing person. Okay? These are not the same. These are not the same. The first one was to say that, have you arrested our person? The second one is to make make a report of a missing person.
Okay. Now, the real final one now to you. Do you at some point also accept that some people in this country can disappear and never to be seen again?
No, the country is big and wide. People can disappear. For example, we never can tell, even with our... No, let me answer. The state is big and wide. And we have even in discipline officers, okay? In discipline officers, and that is why we put law in place, because things have to be addressed institutionally. You want to say, I'm in touch with corporal so-and-so, sergeant so-and-so throughout the country. So anything can happen. But also, there are some people who go and disappear on their own and never give any trace. Even in mental health case, people have disappeared, gone out of Congo to Congo, wherever, on a mental health case. So for me to come here and say nobody can disappear, I can't say that. But only that we have to make due investigation on a case-by-case what has caused the disappearance. And of course, we would still condemn, even as a ruling party, if the state disappears, because we insist as a ruling party that the law must be followed. Okay. If somebody sees violations of the law, we still insist as a ruling party that follow the due process of the law.
Because I'm not giving you extra seconds, use like 40 or so seconds to have your closing remarks. I cross to the two gentlemen and we shall leave here. What's your closing remarks?
My closing remark is especially the key topic being the safety and the protection of people, is that by far we have tried, and by far we have also had challenges, and it is incumbent on us, not on anybody else, to make it better and make people as safe as possible. Okay. It is for that reason that we seek the mandate of the people to vote us. If you have no ability to protect the lives and safety of the people, then leave somebody else power. So we don't run away from our responsibility. We shall try to do better.
Okay. Mr. Ochieno, I will not ask you the same question because yours should be different. How best would you have expected government to guarantee people's safety and freedoms as enshrined in the Constitution? It's the same question, but it's twisted the other way around. How best? Because now I cannot ask you how the other one was suitable for Honorable Awich to paint for us a picture how they have guaranteed. Now, how would you have guaranteed?
No, I don't think how would we? No, how do, these are lawyers, how do states guarantee basic rights and freedoms of the individual? But
if you were president, in this case, for instance.
Yes, and I need to make it political in the sense of Ochieno Manifesto, basically common sense things. You know, these guys went to the bush and terrorized this country for 5 years. And these guys have ruled this country for 40 years. Before these guys came to power, UPC governed this country twice. We can measure the basic rights from and it's about 12 years. Then 9 years of Idi Amin. Put all those together, even under one administration, it's not as long as 40 years. So, minus everything else that happened, there is no way that after 40 years you should face Emugumia. There's no way in which after 40 years you should face the impunity around Kizza Besigye. After 40 years, female members of parliament and stripped nearly half naked in front of the National Assembly, legislators. You know, after 40 years, you get what happened in Kawempe. Those are just basics. You know, it's actually criminal basics. You know, the other day you were here with a guest of yours who's now a presidential candidate, you know, whipped and nearly misused a young, decent Ugandan citizen. But in any case, if part of your question is about, you know, guaranteeing people's basic rights, as we said, you know, our children should not go as slaves. He's talking about slavery. Should not be going as slaves. That's what they are, you know, to the Middle East. You know, if it is, all Ugandan children should be guaranteed basic education. UPA is actually education appetite. By the way, I wrote about this formally as education appetite in my column, Sunday column, those days in the Monitor. It remains that, and they remain to be challenged. So in terms of provision of education, it's a basic right, because my brother here is trying to draw onto the global conventions of some of these rights. It's actually criminal. NRM would fail and would take them to Luzira. So on education, on basic health, on women's rights, you know, including question of child and women maternal health mortality, they'd fail. Access to water, you know, access to electricity, they would fail. The criminality that is taking place in Uganda, in Karamoja, if you see what's happening, the Balalo behavior, basic rights. Here I'm talking not about the Balalo invading, but if you see that in a normal country where there is a basic rule of law, these are things that would not happen. This nonsense that this guy is cross traffic lights and take one way in which the leader of a country blocks traffic in Kampala for 2 hours for one individual, you know, with a trail of 50 vehicles to pass. Basic rights of the citizens. And you know, Ugandans sit like this.
I'll cut you short.
Ugandans sit like this. And you see Ugandans are fuming. But you see they're absolutely alone because they are helpless. It's extraordinarily, extremely sad.
Okay, that's Mr. Joseph Ochieno. I will cross to Honorable Michael Mabikke. He's an aspirant for Makindye East. I have heard rumors that your biggest worry, you know, stepped down. So I don't know whether he declined contesting, and we heard that perhaps he was giving you sleepless nights. But proceed from there.
Actually, I never had sleep.
The incumbent, you weren't worried
over anybody.
Okay. Proceed.
I am in it to win now.
Proceed by answering how you think government ought to guarantee people's freedoms and rights, and then we shall leave here. You have 4 minutes.
Next time, don't put the Honorable Ambassador Awich in such a difficult position.
I don't know what he means to say this.
When you ask him about the human rights record of the national resistance movement, I think you put him in such a fix now. Sad after 40 years, you know, that we seem to have taken a full cycle. We are back where the NRM began. One, the Bill of Rights is enshrined in our constitution. Actually, the Ugandan Bill of Rights is under Article 29.
Chapter 4?
Yeah, that Chapter 4 that really enumerates the do's and don'ts. It also largely tells us about the human rights which are not derogable. But we have moved 40 years down the road, and all we see is lawlessness today, impunity, lack of the rule of the law. As we speak now, we have 300 young people who were arrested in 2021 for supporting a different candidate other than Mr. Museveni. They are incarcerated in prison.
Where are they?
In different prisons. They have not gone to court.
No, could you repeat that, please?
Okay, yeah, repeat.
Yeah, they are all over these. They are all over these prisons.
If you don't mind, Comrade Mabikke, you're saying that there are no less than 300
less than 300
young people
yeah.
who were arrested illegally by this regime. 5 years later,
and when we are going into another election, they are still incarcerated. And Honorable Awich is saying...
Did I say anything else?
Now, there are many others who have disappeared, but Honorable Awich is here telling us that maybe they are mentally deranged. They could have gone to Congo. This is the most unfortunate statement I've heard from a senior NRM.
Do you deny anyone?
NRM.
He said, no, it is contextual. He said, do you deny one person?
I can give you an example.
Okay. For you, was asking one person.
A friend of mine called Chibalama. To this day, is disappeared. Missing 18 persons. Honorable Mpuga was at the helm of that 18 missing persons, unaccounted for. Nobody knows where they are. 5 years down the road. Today, I came late because the city flooded. But the people say, you know, the city is flooding because someone is building in a channel, a drainage channel. And he is not building according to the KCC plan, because the KCC have said we have not given him authority. We have not. But he is using a presidential directive. That's how low we have sunk. That's how bad the human rights situation is. That's how bad the regime of the law is in Uganda. Actually, to say that the constitution has been relegated or abrogated is to say the least. We now have actually gun rule. Mr. Awich, Honorable Awich is a lieutenant. I don't know whether he has resigned from the military.
He retired.
He has retired major from the military. But there's something that I think I remember when I read American history. There's a man called General Washington who vanquished the colonial military, the British colonial military. And when he vanquished them, the Americans wanted him to be a king. And he said, guys, look here. The guns which rule, the guns which liberate do not rule. Now in Uganda, the guns that liberated us in 86 still rule. They still reign. That is why even when you go into a political contest with the witches of this world, and even if you defeat them at a debate, or even if you defeat them at a ballot, the last resort will be the gun.
Okay.
So, as far as the human rights record of the Awich's party is concerned, of course, there is a lot more to do. It is lacking. Look at the shrinking political space. Look at the shrinking human rights record. Look at the impunity that's going on around with the cronies of the regime. Someone building in a channel. Someone really disrupting nature. And I mean, things go on normally. Business go on as usual. So
you have
we cry for Uganda, and we look to that moment when we shall restore the rule of law, constitutionalism, and have sanity restored in our motherland.
Okay.
That is possible. All Ugandans need to do is to believe in better.
Okay. Our viewers, I cannot even add any word, just to thank you for viewing and continuing to send in your comments in the event that such comments and or questions require their responses. Next time, we shall of course have them to respond to each one of the comments. I wish to call it a good night, and of course, by the way, vote wisely. Should you consider voting, because that's also your duty to vote, and of course not money, because that's part of our campaigns, to ask citizens not to vote money, but voting issues. May God bless all of us, for God in my country.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.